Hello, this is Muho and
Eshin.
I met Eshin for the first time a couple of days ago in Nagoya and now you're here in Osaka. I don't really know much about you. I think most of my viewers on the channel don't know you. Can you tell us something about who you are?
Yeah. My name is Eshin. I'm originally from the United States. I came to Japan chasing Zen, wanting to be closer to Dogen, and I wandered in temples until someone thought the only right thing to do was ordain me.
The famous question is, how did you get into Zen in the first place?
Somewhat by chance.
Yeah.
Actually, I was originally a jazz musician, a jazz trumpet player, and I was working in Chicago playing Broadway shows and things like this.
Yeah.
And I was a busy member of a Pure Land temple there.
I see.
And I really liked it. I kind of woke up to the whole Buddhist idea being active in there. Cleaning the toilets, actually, is how I kind of went, oh, this is it. I got it. Entered the stream, as they say. And not that stream. Yeah. I decided to go to, it was time to go to graduate school. I'd been out of school for 5 or 6 years, and I wondered if there was a temple near a good college that would give me a scholarship. I was a pro. I thought I could sell myself as a musician pretty well, and I found one, and it happened to be in Eugene, Oregon. There's a great music school, just a state school, the University of Oregon, and there are several temples from different lineages, a couple of Zen and a couple of other. When I was looking at the school, I thought I would just go for a walk until I found a temple, and I just gave myself an extra day to just wander. It happened to be a Sunday, which was a good day to walk around in the States looking for a temple, because probably people were gathering. And I happened upon one place, and a bald guy walked out. And I thought, what are the chances? He's not a monk. I don't know. So I just said, are you a monk? And he was like, yes. And and he happened to be going for a walk. I was like, is the temple open? He goes, no, it's closed. We just closed like 20 minutes ago. I was like, oh, I missed this sort of Sunday gathering thing. But he was walking to meet a friend or something, and he was like, yeah, I'll walk with you. And we ended up walking for 3 or 4 hours, and I was really, really impressed with his kind of relationship with the Dharma and with Buddhism, and what he told me about his teacher was really cool. And I thought, man, he doesn't know it yet, but that guy's going to be my teacher. And shortly after that, and a few months later, I moved to Oregon, and then he went to Japan to train at Toshoji and Eiheiji. And maybe you remember him. His name was Sogaku.
Is he also playing the drums or something like that?
He's pretty musical.
That was about 10 years ago or so.
Yeah, 10 or 11 years ago, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I remember party after session where we made music, and I think he was also involved in that.
Yeah, he's a pretty musical guy. Guitar, probably plays drums just fine. He was really good at taiko at the temple in Oregon. But anyway, he spent a couple years in Japan. He spoke really nice Japanese. Studied in college, and after that, I basically moved to Oregon and immediately just got busy in the temple. And then within a year, the abbot was like, "Why don't you just move in here as a resident?" And I was like, "I can do that," and I really, really enjoyed that, and got into the Zen schedule of life at the same time as going to graduate school for jazz composition, and wanted to be a monk, wanted to become his deshi, but my fate didn't quite work. And then I changed, basically I got injured and I couldn't do Zazen for a while. And then moved back to Chicago and had an adventure, and then was like, yeah, I think I'm just going to go to Japan. It looks like it's working. Are you okay?
Yeah, my head is popping out of the picture.
Do you want to change to move the camera a little?
I'll do that. Yeah. I'll do that. Yeah. So now we have more of the maple trees as well.
So basically my fate just kept telling me to go different places, and eventually things kind of settled down in my life, and I had a really good boss who was a Tibetan, a long-time Tibetan practitioner, and I worked in an American yochi, an American kindergarten.
I see.
And she retired, and I said, I don't want to work for anyone else.
Yes.
You're amazing. And she said, you should do the thing that you've always wanted to do that you keep making excuses for. And I said, okay, I'm going to move to Japan.
Yes.
And I came here at 33 years old, zero Japanese, and just went to every temple I could possibly find.
Okay, and you're 7 years in Japan now? That means you're 40?
Yeah, so it means I'm 40, yeah.
Okay. One thing that would interest me, you said you started with Pure Land Buddhism, and I could imagine most of my viewers know Zen. Zen is maybe the most popular form of at least Japanese Buddhism in the West. You meditate, maybe you're striving for enlightenment, or you just aim at just sitting, letting go of everything. Pure Land Buddhism, few people know. As far as I understand it, it starts with the realization I will never get enlightened. And if anybody is going to rescue me, it can only be the Buddha Amitabha. You take refuge because he vowed to save everyone. Unless he can save anyone, he won't become a Buddha. And he's very popular in Japan, at least as popular as Zen, but not as popular in the West. One reason I could imagine, because there's a certain similarity to Christianity. You take refuge in the savior that's outside of you. So I found it interesting that you started there, but then you moved to Zen, which feels at least a little bit different. The Japanese always say, Pure Land Buddhism, you rely in the other power, the power of Amitabha. So Zen is the self-power. You do it yourself. How do you feel that difference? How was it for you?
That's a really interesting question. Yeah, actually, when I did Jukai and got the name Eshin, received my name from that master in Oregon, my name means embracing faith, which was a reference to my relationship with the teachings of Shinran Shonin and Nembutsu, which is, for people who don't know, that's reciting the name of Amida Buddha. And that being a sort of it becomes its own sort of object meditation, and it's a way that people kind of release the idea that they have to be perfect. If enlightenment is a perfection of some kind, then in letting go of that self-directed expectation, you can live your life a bit more sort of at face value, meet things just as they are, which sounds kind of Zen. And philosophically, the way after reading Tannisho, which was the sort of like Shinran Shonin's Shobo Genzo.
Kind of monkey.
Zuimonki. It's what I'm left with is the idea that the Pure Land idea is sort of a circuitous reasoning loop, where Amida Buddha was, as the legend goes, as a Buddha who existed in an epoch previous to this one, before this one, and that maybe Siddhartha Gautama remembered encountering this Buddha in some previous existence. And whether you believe that or not, I like to say is not important. But that some enlightened being in some other previous version of our universe made a vow to create a pure land, like an easy place to be, that anyone can get to just by remembering that he made the vow to make the Pure Land that anybody can get to, just by remembering that he made the vow. So it's this, like, it just keeps feeding itself like this. And if you kind of jump in that loop and, you study sutras, the temple I was part of, the Buddhist temple of Chicago, was an old sort of Tannitsu, so it's a little bit detached from the Pure Land institution. And so the founding minister really liked Hanya Shingyo, the Heart Sutra. And so we read the Heart Sutra just like in a Zen temple. There was no Mokugyo, but it was really slow. But we also studied it, like, what does it mean? And that was a really cool thing. Which I think is rare here in Japan, people studying the actual inside of a sutra. In my monastic training, I didn't really see much. But that idea is it's like a tool for people
Yes.
to deal with the suffering in their lives. And I could see it really working for a lot of people. Even here in Japan, I can see that practice, that reciting Namu Amida Butsu. I remember the name of Amida Buddha, basically, and that giving them like a medicine, kind of a psychological medicine. And if it works, why not? And and turning to Zen, of course, studying getting to peer inside sutras, the Buddha's teachings. It's like, well, obviously, if Amida really existed and the Buddha existed and the Buddha was doing the sitting, whether I'm going to get enlightened or not isn't the point. I don't need to be. I just do the sitting, and then something surely good can come from that. Nothing but good can come from that. If I get through the suffering part of sitting, my legs hurt, my mind's going crazy, I just keep sitting. So like I just liked the sort of myself taking up the work.
Yes.
And in some sense, I think that, well, my impression was that there's a monk and there are people who like to sit a lot. And then there are people in the community who don't sit as much, maybe on occasion, but come and participate. And so like the practice of a monk, of a priest, and the people who really pour themselves into it, who have that passion, becomes kind of like Amida's vow. And it shows people that they can access something cool. And hopefully it tells people that you don't have to feel guilty for not trying too hard. Or not being able to try too hard. Maybe you got a bunch of kids. You can't. Or you got to run a farm. If you're, if you meet Shinran, Shinran's teachings are really easy. Dogen's a little tough, but I like the play of different skillful means.
Yeah, you mentioned this feeling guilty for not trying too hard, or for not trying hard enough, for not practicing hard enough. Sometimes I feel like these two schools in Japan, it's not that there's a strong rivalry. Usually in my talk in Nagoya, I said basically Dogen and Shinran, they kind of pointed the same thing. And a lot of people would agree with me. So there's also Shinran Buddhists that come to my talk, but there's this kind of a little bit hesitation. Are we really allowed to do Zazen? Like there's this kind of, they feel a little bit ashamed or guilty because when I do Zazen, am I not betraying Amitabha? And what you said, to me at least, it seems to hint at something that I say, that this vow of Amitabha, I'm kind of part of that. Like Amitabha vowed to practice and include all of the living beings in his practice. So why should I not also be part of that? So my Zazen is not a betrayal of Amitabha's vow, it's a manifestation of Amitabha's vow, but that's sometimes, at least for me, it feels hard to communicate.
Yeah, that reminds me of something that you said in your talk about there's a beautiful kind of line in Shinran's teaching is even a good person can attain rebirth in the Pure Land. How much more so a bad person or the evil person? And that is, of course, if you just read it black and white, that a good person, good moral, upright kind of person can do it, and somebody who's not morally upright can also do it. Well, yeah, there's that way of reading it, but there's also the sense of if I have guilt, then I'm judging myself for being bad, or saying, can I do Zazen? That's just me judging myself for, like, calling myself somehow lower or unworthy in some way. That's the bad thing. And, like, that's exactly the reason why you're completely permitted to do it. You're free to do it. Yeah, who cares? If you're already doing bad stuff, who cares what you do? Well, you may as well do the other thing.
You might as well do Zazen.
Yeah, you might as well sit. Yeah. And, there's a lot of teaching in Pure Land Buddhism which also points at Zazen. It's not called Zazen, but in a way, like the founder of that temple is a guy called Gyomei Kubose, the temple in Chicago. He actually founded the temple in an old Polish neighborhood in southern part of Chicago, and a lot of the Polacks could not. He bought a church. It was a church, so people thought it was just a church. You know, it looks like a church. They play hymns with a piano. They sing songs. What's not church about this, right?
Yeah.
All the Polish people are Catholic, and they see this guy. He's really nice. He picks up trash in the neighborhood. They called him Reverend Kubowski.
Kubowski.
Yeah.
It was Kubota or what was it?
Kubose.
Kubose.
Yeah, and
Kubowski.
so you know the people call him Kubowski, and and of course there were a lot of Japanese, first generation Japanese were also there, I think, but
Yeah.
a lot of Nisei-san and Sansei,
Yeah.
especially after World War II and the internment camps, a lot of people moved to Chicago,
Yeah.
and so that place became a really rich place of spiritual inquiry for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I think now in the U.S. that temple is still probably the most diverse ethnically Buddhist place in the U.S.
Yeah.
But he wrote a lot, and some moments in his writing, he points at like when you're waiting for something,
Yeah.
like you're going to meet someone, that you have free time.
Mm.
You don't need to be anywhere else. You could get frustrated that someone's late or the timing doesn't line up, or you could just be there. And what kind of freedom happens when you just arrive in this moment? Maybe remember Nembutsu, remember Amida's
Yeah,
vow,
yeah.
but maybe look at that freedom in this present moment as the Pure Land, which raises the question of if you're orienting yourself to that stillness and silence, and that's the Pure Land, isn't this the same thing?
Yeah. Like often people forget that the name of Nembutsu, which we might translate as reciting Amitabha's name or something, is the same as, for example, the seventh in the Eightfold Path, right? Awareness or mindfulness. It's often translated.
Yeah.
People tend to forget that.
Yeah. And there's a yeah, I mean, I think that there's no reason not to encounter them both at the same time. Although, if your head gets too big and you think that what your school is doing is the right thing, and you start to think that the other side is the wrong thing, you miss out on something that could be great.
Yes. Maybe back to your story. You came to Japan when you were 33. You were still a lay person, but now I think you're a full-fledged priest.
Yes.
So what happened in those 7 years?
Well, I went to probably over 200 temples, just like a temple otaku, and you know, of course, I like Pure Land, so I went to the Honganji, Higashi Honganji, Nishi Honganji. Went to all those cool places, and I live in Nagoya, so I went to like a lot of temples there, and I married a Japanese person who I met in Oregon many years ago. Around the time that I went to, when I met the monk at Buddha Eye Temple in Eugene. And so our relationship allowed me to be free in Japan, which it's great, right?
Yeah.
And I wandered into so many temples, and I'd see like, oh, there's maybe a jushoku, maybe a monk here. And my Japanese was getting a little better because I came with zero. And they basically, all the temple priests just run away. They see a foreigner and go, no. And just, gomen, isogashi, and then just run away. But I wandered into one sort of, I say this, and it's not I don't say this to be pejorative, but kind of dumpy temple. Small, like a pile of sticks on the side of a hill. And there was a funny old man in regular people clothes, you know, with a bald head. And he was throwing snacks to cats while talking to crows. And I thought, this guy's cool. And I'd learned to read some kanji at that point, and I could read that there's the stone pillar in the keidai, in the garden part of the temple, although it's not much of a garden there, it's just gravel. And it said Sotoshu. And I thought, oh, this is a Soto temple. And I talked to him a little bit in my very limited Japanese, and he was super kind. And I said, can I sit zazen in your temple? And he goes, yeah, anytime, the door's open. If the sun is up, the door is open. You're welcome. And he took me in, he showed me around, and he said, no, this is, here, you can use this zafu.
Wow,
And
wow. Maybe we have to say that that's really an exception. There's 15,000 Soto temples, but people imagine that everywhere you can go and there's a Zen
yeah,
group, but it's maybe 1%, less than 1%.
yeah.
Maybe 1% they have a Zen group that meets every weekend or so.
And you got to pay money to do
And
it, to
you
participate.
pay a small amount of money and then
Yeah,
you get a cup of tea and you talk, but it's old people, it's senior
yeah.
citizens, and every day is a huge exception. It's maybe one out of, how do you say, 1,000 or so.
Yeah, if that,
Yeah,
if
yeah,
you leave out the training monasteries, come
yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah,
Uh, but he was more open, I think, in a kind of a wild,
yeah,
like a wild fox is what I
yeah,
always
yeah,
describe my master as,
yeah.
and he was so kind, and uh, he he was like, yeah, you can sit zazen here, but get in my car. Let's go to this other temple. And I was like, what? And so I
Abductor, abduct.
abducted. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And he was like, just put your bike in the back of my car. He had a K car, and the gate didn't close. But he was like, Daijoubu, daijoubu. And he just drives down the road with my bike hanging out the back, flapping.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he took me to his honji, the
Yeah,
sort of
yeah.
administrative boss temple of his
Yeah,
small
yeah.
temple. And they have a very beautiful zazendo, all made of hinoki, and about 40
wow.
people can sit in there.
Wow.
And two monks, two brothers live there. And the second monk, he was long time only black, so he
Yeah,
had no
yeah.
need to try to level up to do zuisei.
Yeah,
But he was so open, and he's like, gaijin-san, eigo shaberenai. He panicked, and the old man who
Yeah.
later became my master was like, yeah, just oshiete. It just kind of gave me to him as a kohai, as a lower rank, and so he taught me a lot, and I laughed to myself and said, ha ha ha, these guys don't know what they're getting into. And I went to either one of those, sometimes both,
Yeah.
almost every day, sometimes twice. The door's open, I'm going to sit.
Yeah.
And the old man in the small temple, I liked that one. It feels more homey.
Yes, yes.
Well, it is my home temple now, but
Yeah.
something about that felt more open-hearted. And just sitting in the hondo there was cool, really cool for me. And he's never sat zazen with me, but which is kind of weird. But he would sit at a table across the room and drink coffee while I'm sitting zazen.
So you sit solitary in his hondo.
Yeah, and I mean, effectively, he's doing zazen. It's just not this and this. He's doing it like this.
Oh.
And
But he's not on a smartphone.
no, he's not on his smartphone. He's bad at this. So he's free. Yeah. And I thought at first that was strange, but then I understood that actually he supports my practice that way. He's there, and so I kept going and sitting in both of these places, and we did a sort of like a mock. I was teaching English in that town, which is outside of Nagoya, in the countryside. I was teaching English in the middle schools there, and so I would go before going to school and go after going to school. And the monk with the zazendo, his children were my students, as it turned out. And he taught me to speak Japanese just by talking to me a lot. And then he taught me. So he taught me a lot of different things, like little. He made me memorize some sutras, which was really fun. Like, okay, Heart Sutra, go! And then I'd start and I'd mess up, and he'd go, no! And yell at me, and like, Mama, moikai! And it really kind of animatedly, really, really pounded it in a loving way. Yeah. And one day, the younger monk and I were joking about, man, wouldn't it be fun if I just became a monk? I kind of really like this stuff, and I wanted to be, but I kind of threw it away. It wasn't going to work out. And then, without asking anything, the old man came to that other temple, in the sort of the sitting room with the table and where we would have coffee and stuff, and he said, "What are you doing next Saturday?" And I said, "Nothing." And he goes, "Let's go to Zuyoji." And I was like, isn't that a monastery? And he's
Yeah,
like, yeah, let's go. And maybe we'll go to another one too.
Yeah.
And he told the younger monk, he's like, and you're driving. And he's like, huh? Why? You know, and he just basically gets shoved into a job, you know, by an old man. And I didn't understand. I didn't ask too much. I just sort of let him do his thing. And eventually he was like, you want to be a monk, right? So you need to go to Shugyo. And I was like, what are you suggesting, that you're going to ordain me? I didn't say this, but I'm thinking this. And like the younger monk is like, I think he's going to ordain you. I think he's going to ordain you. and I'm like, I mean, that would be really cool. He's great. I really like him. I liked him before I understood his lineage, which was even more fun. And we went to Zuyoji, and I found out, oh, his master was a man called Tsugen Roshi.
Tsugen, yeah, Narazaki Tsugen.
Yeah, and so we went there not maybe 6 months before Tsugen Roshi passed away. And I didn't get to meet him, but I got to be in that space with him and kind of get a taste of Zuyoji. I liked it, but it didn't hit me in a certain way. And then he took me to another monastery. He was like, you should see a couple. And he took me to Toshoji in Okayama. And somehow I could feel something interesting there. There were only two foreign monks there. There was a Brazilian guy and a German guy. And the German was Myogen, who is your deshi.
It was because of Corona that there were not so many foreigners.
Maybe so, yeah. That was just after Corona started, yeah. And I really, I really liked Myogen, and I really liked the community there. There was another monk there who, maybe you know, Shogaku?
Another kind of student of Antaishi.
I think so,
yeah.
He's not your deshi?
Yeah, originally. I mean, he now became a priest in the temple. He became a student of that priest, so he got his Dharma transmission from somebody else. I ordained Shogaku initially.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
I really, really respected. I mean, could immediately just see, like, wow, this guy is like the real thing, and I really like that. And and then eventually there's a monk that's famous in kind of famous in Soto Zen called Ryokan.
Ryokan-san.
And I really, really liked his story, and I play with children too, so I kind of identify with him. And I had this weird feeling. I walked into the Zazendo one day and I looked up at the moon through the window of the Zazendo. I was like, you know, I wonder if Ryokan-san was here. I said this, and then I later, I talked about, somebody asked me why I like Zen or whatever, and I mentioned Ryokan-san. And one of the nuns there, an older nun, I don't remember her name, said, he was here. And she goes and brings out a book with a sort of a ledger with where the cook, the tenzo, had written down the recipes for a certain day, and it was Ryokan was the tenzo on some occasions there, and you could see his beautiful handwriting, telling these beautiful recipes and using the kamado and maybe making shukumen or something, and I was like, oh, he was here, and I got goosebumps, and I was like, I think this is the place I have to be, and then my master, the guy who became my master, he wasn't my master at that point, said, yeah, maybe you can become the deshi, the student of Toshoji, or maybe they're busy, and maybe we'll just do it in my temple. And then, it kept getting closer and closer to the time. I quit my job. I'm waiting around. My wife's going, what are you doing? And then, like a Wednesday, I get a phone call from the old man. Okay, Friday night, 8 p.m., ordination. And I said, okay. I have 2 days. What? And so I told my wife, we're going over to the temple on Friday night, and we went and we did my kind of very small, light ordination ceremony, and then he sent me off to training. He also asked me, when we were talking about training, I made a joke. This is an important detail. I made a joke. Haha, wouldn't it be funny if, I'm a gaikokujin, I'm a foreigner. Wouldn't it be funny if I could go to Eiheiji? And he goes, For people who don't know, Eiheiji is really, really strict. Famously, any Japanese person you ask, you're like, oh, kibishii ne. And I thought it would be funny and not serious, because I was like 36 at that
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah.
Too old to really survive in Eiheiji. And I already knew I was too old to go to Antaiji. Like, oh, no.
Well, the age limit is 40.
Well, now I'm too old.
The official.
Yeah, I'm official, yeah. But I made that joke,
Yeah,
and he said,
yeah.
"Oh, I called them already,"
Yeah.
and they said no because
Yeah.
you have tattoos.
I see. I wanted to ask you about that. So they have that rule: you cannot go to Eiheiji with tattoos.
So I thought.
Uh-huh.
That was what I was told initially.
Uh-huh.
And then I was in Toshoji for a year,
Yeah.
and I get a phone. I'm sitting in the studio, doing monk things in the studio with other monks, and the phone rings.
Yeah.
And one of my senpai brings and goes, Eshin, it's your master. Eh? Ima? Moshi moshi. Eshin. And he says, so do you really want to go to Eiheiji? And I was like, I covered the phone. I said, my master's asking me about Eiheiji, and my senpai are like, why? Japanese, my Japanese senpai, and I said, I thought I couldn't go, and he said, no, I called and argued with them. They will take you, and I said, well, I guess I have to go. Shikanai ne, and he's like, okay, then you will leave Toshoji next month and go to Eiheiji.
Yes. Yes.
And I said, "Hi, wakarimashita. I understand. Bye." And then I looked at my senpai and I said, "I guess I'm going to Eiheiji." And they looked at me and go, "Why?" and I end up transferring into Eiheiji.
For long? How long?
I was there for just 1 year. That was
Oh, wow. So that's where you met Head Hensho.
that's where I met Hensho. Yeah, and I could only be there. I wanted to be there for 2 years. That would be great.
Yeah.
My master was the Shuso of Eiheiji. He wanted me to do that there too.
Yes.
But I have a wife. She would only give me. We agreed that maybe my time would be about 2 years
Yes.
in training,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
with Eiheiji it would be a full 2 years. And so she let me go. And a funny thing to connect back to the tattoo and Shinran Shonin is that the tattoo is Shinran Shonin.
Yeah, I see.
So-
you want to show it?
Yeah,
or-
it's fine. Yeah. So I have this.
Cool. You had that in Chicago?
Yeah, I got this in Chicago.
Wow.
This
Wow.
was purchased for me as a gift from someone, well, I really like Shinran, and so I have this beautiful.
That's a funny thing to take to Eiheiji.
Really funny thing to take to Eiheiji, and I got a lot of there were a lot of laughs with the roshis there about this, and there's a funny thing that skin stretches so I can make Shinran smile, and I showed this to the strictest roshi in Eiheiji, who all the other monks were always terrified of, Ino Roshi.
Yes.
And he kind of always wanted to play with me, like a kid.
Yeah.
And I thought he would laugh. I thought it would be really funny. So I pulled this up, and he was like, "Don't show me the tattoo. Don't put that away. Put that away." And I showed him it, and he goes, "Show me again." And then every time afterwards, we'd be standing there as he walked by and bow, and he'd go, "Show me." So it became the sort of running joke in Eiheiji. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Wow. I didn't realize you went to Eiheiji as well.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips for people who want to come to Japan to practice Zen here?
Study Japanese. Start now, and do your best. That's the best thing you could do. And not just study. Well, you're going to study the culture when you study the language, but make a point to study Japanese culture. If you want. Actually, I told my friend today. If you want to come to Japan to study Zen, one, be determined. If you're going to ask once, you're going to be told no. Ask again. In Buddhism, we usually ask 3 times, right? And then come to Japan, get a job, get an English teaching job, so you can see Japanese culture. And then when you go into a training place, like if you visit Antaiji or maybe you go to Toshoji or some other monastery that you can get into, if you, as a sanzensha, like not a monk, then you can understand the sort of how do I say it in English? senpai jun, joge kankei. What is that?
Senior, junior?
Senior, yeah, thank you. Senior junior relationship.
Yeah, yeah.
If you see it in Japanese culture, it makes more sense in the
Yeah.
monastery.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. About a decade or so, I made these rules at Eiheiji. If you come, learn at least a basic amount of Japanese. Because otherwise, everybody's forced to talk in English with you and you will never learn the language, the culture. Second rule was come until you're 40. Of course, you can practice then with 50, 60, 70 years, but that environment, it's hard. So come when you're still young, as
Yeah.
you said. The third rule was come for at least 3 years. Until then, people could come for any amount of time, as long as they wanted, could leave again. But my idea was, well, you need actually 10 years. Uchiyama Roshi says, sit silently for a decade, and then after 10 years, sit for another decade, after 20
Yeah,
years,
yeah, yeah.
add another decade, sit for 30 years. So I reduced that to 3 years, but 3 years for me, it's the start line. And also, if you don't stay for 3 years, not only can you learn not much, you can't give back anything. If you also have the idea, I want to give something back, 3 years is the absolute minimum in my mind.
I agree, and I might. Yeah, I mean that's a very sensible baseline. It's hard to learn. It's hard to learn everything. I mean, I still consider myself a terrible monk. I mean, my movements are not so beautiful. Do I understand all the parts of every ceremony? No, not really. I mean, I basically get it, and I'm always like getting by the skin of my teeth. Is how I say that. Like, okay, yeah, if I watch, oh, I'm supposed to bow now. I'm always watching everyone. But I think that's also part of.
That's the most important part, I would
Yeah.
say. Yeah, that's the most important part. Yeah.
Thank you for that. And being willing to own. It's not exactly. It's own your mistakes or own the little parts that you're not lining up with, and to abandon. Maybe the hardest thing for a foreigner to understand when they come to Japan to study Zen is why am I always getting yelled at for everything?
Yeah.
That if you have I might say as a teacher I would give, okay, I'm going to yell at you for the next period of time. Today I'm not angry at you. When I'm yelling at you, I'm not actually probably all that angry at you. This isn't brain surgery. Nobody's going to die because you didn't do that right. So it's not that important. But the yelling is for you to encounter you. It's a mirror. And you're going to want to run away. But your job at that moment is just to be there. And that's the same thing as when we sit down on the cushion. When you start to feel a whole bunch of stuff, is just to keep sitting. And I said in maybe in one of my other videos where I did sort of a little Dharma talk, that when you face a wall, it's the most perfect mirror because the only thing you can see in it is you. And it's raw and pure. And, what are you going to do with that? You have no choice but to be there. Ultimately, you have no choice but to be there. But you can wander around and keep looking at different stuff and get distracted from yourself. Looking at stuff and get distracted from yourself. But how much better is it to just, I'm terrible I can't concentrate. I have a squirrel brain. And then, sit anyway. So get yelled at. Watch this. What's going on there? And then how can you just keep standing there and take it? Hai, hai, hai. 失礼いたします。いえ、失礼いたしました。Just take it.
Thank you. Maybe one last question. Now you're back in the Nagoya area, Aichi-ken. What are you doing now?
I work at a monk has a few masters, so I work at my Hodoshi, who's a second master's temple, where I did a special ceremony and we kind of got attached.
The Hossenshiki?
Hossenshiki, yeah. and yeah, I work there part time, and I teach zazen. I like to teach children zazen, and I have my own little YouTube channel that I started.
Yeah, I will put a link in the video description or at the end, so click on there. Eshin Woodward, regarding Zen.
Eshin regarding Zen. Yeah.
Eshin regarding Zen.
I like to say how we regard things. It's not how we think about things. It's about how we hold it in our lives. How we regard it. The thinking isn't so useful. Yeah, I do that, and I have a little online Zen group who encouraged me to make a YouTube channel. We meet every Sunday in the U.S. time, America time.
That's early Monday morning.
Yeah.
You get up at 5 or 4:30 or what?
3:30.
3:30.
Yeah, 3:30 on Monday mornings, and then set up my sitting place and meet people online, and we do zazen, and then much like you do, I handle questions, and sometimes I present something like a teaching or a little piece of Shobogenzo, because most people only need just a little bit. Shobogenzo is too dense for most people. So.
Do you get up every morning at 3:30, or is it only Mondays?
I like to get up really early.
I see.
But usually I get up like 4:30. Feels good to me. 3:30 is, I can do that for a few days, but
Probably most of my viewers, that's when I sleep.
Yeah,
when I go to sleep.
Yeah.
They're on the internet until 3:30 and then they pass out.
yes. That's normal. That's fine. But yeah, since if you go to a Zen monastery, you find out quickly that just gets reversed. And the mornings are nice.
Yes, the time before sunrise, it's very nice.
It's just as good as being up after everyone else goes to sleep, except that you get up in the morning and you're getting things done before anybody else. So that.
The quiet is nice. Thank you very much for your time. My legs are getting tired. I'm in this yoga posture for all the time. And we're planning to do an interview on your channel after this. So if you're interested in the questions that Eshin is asking me, go to his channel and probably you'll find an interview with me there too.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for watching.
Thank you so much.